Good evening. Good evening to everyone. Good evening and welcome, including those on FB and YouTube. I am Marsha Lawrence Davids, and it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. So, however it is that you're listening to us, we are so glad to have you, whether you're home or abroad. So, you are tuning in to the right station. This is Family Time. Family Time is about your issues and your relationships, your at home family, your community family, and of course, your global family. Family Time is produced by Family Life Ministries, and our aim is to enable healthy families, which will lead to healthy nations. So stay with us and please join in via all our platforms, that's FB and YouTube, which are live, and via Instagram. Our discussion today is about lessons from 2022. We have had exactly 30 days to think about it. 30 days to review and evaluate, then come up with some solutions and decisions. 30 days to decide what lessons we've learned in 2022 and how we'll use those lessons to improve our 2023. Many of them will be personal, but also what general lessons should we have learned and be putting into practice. It's not about resolutions, but lessons that lead to positive change. Since you're thinking about that, let's do this. Share with us lessons you learned in 2022 that will help you in 2023 to be the best version of yourself. Please send your responses via WhatsApp, text, and voice notes, and you can send those no longer than 30 seconds, of course, to 876 997 3125, or you can call the studio lines at 876 968 8327 or 876 968 3828 to participate. You can also watch us and comment live on Love 101 Facebook and on YouTube. We'll be right back with our special guests, Carrie Heron and Dr. Deborah Hicklin Gordon. Don't go anywhere.
What is credit? Credit is using someone else's money to buy what you need and knowing that you have to repay that money. Think of credit as a contract in which you, as a borrower, receives a sum of money and you agree to repay the lender at a later date, generally with interest. You must understand how credit works to use it for your benefit. This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
How have your days been? Your months? The past few years? Has it been a struggle? Filled with stress, disappointment, and even depression? Times where you're only hanging on by a thread? It's a special morning on The Rock this week where we listen to you and share our own struggles. Just so you know, you're not alone. It's a morning where we want you to call, talk, and write to us and let us help you through your rough patches. Come, talk about it. We'll listen. Tuesday, January 31 on The Rock. Join host Bishop Harold Steve Blair and guests Dr. Margaret Barnett, Errol Bean, and Pastor Luke Smith as they discuss the topic Struggles, Depression, and God, the Counseling Edition. That's The Rock, Tuesday, January 31 at 10 a.m. here on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Family Time on Love 101. And welcome to Carrie Heron and Dr. Deborah Hickling Gordon. They are, of course, our special guests this evening, and I would love to hear from them. How are you doing, ladies?
Perfect. Wonderful. Great. And great to see Carrie.
Likewise, we just waved hi together at the same time.
Oh my gosh. And I'm seeing that somebody's matching with me in red. Oh my
I'm like, I
gosh.
understood the assignment. I got the memo.
Oh yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. So good to have both of you this evening. I know that we're in for a treat. Of course, both guests have resumes longer than the white sand beaches of Israel. But in a nutshell, Dr. Hickling Gordon is an international culture and creative consultant, lecturer, facilitator, fixer, researcher, author, and an advocate. Carrie Heron is a five-fold Christian missionary called to media and the marketplace. She lived and worked in 5 countries, so her experiences are vast. She's also a certified coach. Both ladies with us this evening are teachers, and so learning and lessons are part of their daily lives. Now, remember, we want to hear from you, our audience. So please share with us lessons you learned in 2022 that will make you better in 2023. Please WhatsApp those messages, or you can send your voice notes no longer than 30 seconds to 876 997. That's 876 997 3125, or watch us and comment live on Love 101 Facebook and YouTube, or call the studio lines 876 968 8327 or 876 968 8328 to participate. Time flies really fast on this program, and so we're going to jump right in. All right. So, ladies, can you give us your definition of a lesson? When we talk about a lesson, I learned my lesson. I learned something in 2022 that can carry me forward. What is a lesson? What are we talking about?
Who you want to start with?
Go ahead, Debbie.
Okay. Well, for me, it's a phenomenon that affects us, that causes us to evaluate where we are and to make a new decision for whatever comes in the future. It could be the near future, it could be the far future, but it is something that impacts our life in the moment, that causes us to change our behavior or to alter our behavior or to evaluate how we're going to do the next thing that is similar. So I think that's what it is. It's an experience that we all go through, but it's not only an experience that we leave behind us and don't think of it again. It's something
Mhm.
that really impacts what we're going to do going forward.
All right. Thank you so much for that. How about you, Miss Heron?
My idea is actually quite similar to Dr. Hickling
Yes.
Gordon's. Essentially, it's an opportunity for us to have some sort of assessment on something in life or whatever, some opportunity to take a pause, to look at something after it has happened, to make an assessment, and from that assessment, you're able to acquire new information or reinforce information already known, or get greater wisdom and understanding so that you're able to make adjustments as needed. But it brings us from operating like on autopilot into a much more active stance in our lives, because then we're just not living passively without any assessment, but we're living, and then we're pausing and say, but wait, what just happened right here? Let us just look at this. What did I learn from that? And sometimes every lesson is valuable, even the lessons that we have that seemingly come across as negative as well, because there's always new information, new knowledge, new understanding, new wisdom to be gleaned from it.
All right. Thank you so much. So, how are lessons learned? And I mean, because as I go through life, I can think about several experiences that I may have learned something from. And Is it that there are only good experiences that you learn something from, or you learn something from bad experiences as well? How are lessons learned? Can you share with us, Dr. Hickling Gordon? Not
You're
hearing
muted.
you.
Sorry, I have these dogs that I have to introduce to everybody, and they appear every now and then. So I kind of turned off when they decided they were gonna join the discussion. Um, how do you learn a lesson? It's really about impact, I think. It's about how that particular phenomenon affects you. So the way in which it affects you will cause you to change the behavior that we spoke about earlier. And if it affects you negatively, it'll probably jolt you and say to you, and then you get a kind of visceral reaction that says, I don't want to feel this again. So let me not do it this way again. Or you could get a happy reaction that makes you say, I want to go here again. This is great. And I want things to go in this way again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really the impact that particular phenomenon has on you in the moment that causes you to learn a lesson, to change the behavior, to take stock, as Carrie said, to stop a moment and evaluate where you are and say, hold on, but do I want this to happen to me again? Or what do I need to do to not make this happen in this way again?
All right. Thank you so much. Miss Heron, can you share with us some examples of how it is that you learned your lessons? Go
Lord have his
down in the
mercy.
food bag now.
Lord have his mercy, as my granny would say. But you know what happened? I find, in addition to what Dr. Hippoclean Gordon, and I'm gonna be struggling to keep on adding the
Let
Gordon.
let's just call it just Deborah. Let's
No, I know her as Dr. Hickling, but in the past 5 years she's been Dr. Hickling Gordon. So it's yeah.
Deborah is good. That's the name my mother gave me. She was a wonderful woman of the Bible, so I'll accept it.
Wonderful.
But in addition to what Dr. Hickling Gordon has said, I find that the lessons for me, I wanted to add something that and it ties into your question too, Marsha, that lessons can keep on coming, but is actually, I found that it's the application of what is learned that actually makes it really a lesson that is learned. And until that application happens, then you pretty much end up meeting that same lesson over and over and over again. It's like taking sexy 6 times. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, yeah. So essentially for me, I find that some of the hardest lessons have been some of my best lessons. And it has taken a lot of humility to understand that. And here's what the humility is: the grace of God is sufficient for me, number one. Number two, that all things are working together for my good. Number three, that even when it seems as if the enemy has come to destroy, Genesis 50:20, then you intended to prosper me and for the saving of many lives. You know, Jeremiah 29:11, all things are, no, that's not all things. That's no, I know the plans I have for you, plans for hope and prosper you, plans for good life, right? Not to harm you. So if understanding that even with the most challenging lessons, there's a safety in that sifting process. And
Hold
yeah,
on. Say that again. Say that
yeah,
again.
I won't take credit for it, but I can't remember her name. I need to find her name, but I heard her say there's a safety in the sifting. Because Christ had prayed for Peter because Peter was going to be tested. And he said, I've prayed for you so that when you're tested, that you will go on and help your brothers. And so that happens with the lessons as well. The things that I've gone through, my hardest lessons have been the ones that have defined my character the most. and they haven't looked pretty in the process. I have not looked pretty in the process. I'm a woman who's been through marriage, been through divorce, and that's like I've gone through the gambit of everything. And divorce is like walking through death with people who are still living, which is very strange because you're mourning and there's no dead body, there's no funeral, and so and even that, the failure of relationships, very close relationships, what does that say? Yes, there are problems with the other person, but yeah, another one, another one, for real, for real, for real. And even if it's not, if it may not be 50-50, but it's certainly not 100-0. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even when you have an accident on the road, you always find that the claim, the accident, that adjusters look and they say, okay, well, this one, it was this person's fault, car one's fault, but there's a percentage of contribution that this other car. So even if it's a 5%, maybe you look away 1 second. It's not your fault, but maybe if you never did look on the phone or something, that you would have seen and would be able to react in time. So, my hardest lessons have been the ones that I find have been the ones that really have developed my character the most. And they have been hard to walk through, but they have been meaningful because there's grace in it and there's safety in it. And because all things are inherently work towards are good. And that's why we need not be afraid of tackling the hard issues and really looking internally, because at the end of the day, God has our back in a most intimate way.
Yes. Thank you so much. I want to find out from both of you if you could just give me a line in terms of something that you learned in 2022 that you must take with you to 2023. And I'm going to give you mine first. I have several, but I'm only going to share one. Life is persons, and mine is that people are imperfect. And so I should extend grace, as much as I can because they're imperfect. And so going along with that is the very fact that I know that I must learn to forgive as quickly as is possible so that I can heal as quickly as is possible. How about you, Deborah? Tell me, share a line with me from 2022 that, listen, you're going to chant this in 2023.
2022, I'm going to give you what the line from 2022 and the line that it led to in 2023.
Yeah.
The line from 2022 was, I have everything I need to do the things that I want.
Wow.
I have even
Deborah,
where I lack.
Hold on to me. You can't drop those nuggets and just run across with it like that. You have to repeat it again for the folks in
I'll
the
say
back.
it again. I have even,
yes,
and especially where I believe I lack. Yeah, I have everything I need to do all the things that I want.
Ooh.
Yeah, and everything else is available.
Yes.
Yeah, and that led me to my 2023 kind of position, which is I looked it up. There is a Yoruba word, a word from Nigeria, a Yoruba word called suru. Term called Suru Libre, Surru Libre, as in book. And it means patience in circumstances that are impossible lead to success. Patience in circumstances that seem impossible lead to success. I guess it is peace be still.
Woo.
I guess that's just what it is. Peace be still. Yeah.
Thank you.
Those are my two.
Deborah, were you and I having some sort of deep conversations or something?
Maybe.
Like seriously, stop reading. Like, what are you doing?
Sorry.
I don't know what to say now because, like, literally, those are two of the top things. And I actually did a video on my lessons for 2022 as well. And those are two of the strong the two of the top things. It's amazing that we have so much in common. Well, that's why we're friends, though.
Yeah.
Um, so if I could add anything else to that, for me, light me a load.
Oh
Hmm.
my goodness, Carrie.
Wow. Ooh.
Don't you feel like that's how I feel too, Lorraine? Like, are you? What is there
Are
a
you in my
stand
head?
device somewhere?
Ladies, I have goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like, you
Can I
see,
add I have goosebumps? Because all of what you're both saying is really just speaking directly to me at this moment. Thank you so much. Go right ahead, Carrie.
yeah. So over time, I've been able to to reduce and get rid of unhealthy habits.
Mhm.
Some things are still work in action, and because we are still alive and we're human, so the spirit and the flesh still struggle, you know. Um, so it's like crutches are useful in physiotherapy, right? And if you have a real injury, you need a crutch. You need also if you break a leg, you need to put it together and to seal it and to make it not move. But the things that you put on in the things that you have in those periods need to move on. So as you heal, that you have to adjust the treatment for the time and the season of the
Mhm.
healing.
Yes.
If you've broken your foot today and you're supposed to take off the cast and use a one that can allow some flexibility in 6 weeks, 6 months later, you can't still have that foot set straight and can't move. And the longer you stay hinged to a treatment of a previous period,
Hmm.
it's the more that you'll actually remain stuck. So literally lighten that load. And
Yes.
there are time when you'll get completely out of the crutch, but to get out of the crutch, you have to process and walk through pain. But you have to breathe through it, knowing that grace is there. That
Yes.
grace is there, but you have to move through pain in order to possess the territory that God has given you, which
But
is a very light yoke, very easy one. So lighten the load.
and there's a funny thing that life isn't a linear thing. It just kind of isn't on a straight line, and
Mm.
the opposite is sometimes as true as the information that you present. So for example, Carrie says things like there's some things you need to put down, but there's some things too that you need to take with you, because you need to take that benchmark. You need to take you need to take the milestone with you. So you need to be able to remember it, share it with somebody else, or to remember it for yourself at a time when you need to go back to that reserve. And I tell a story all the time. I'm going to try to make it really as short as possible, of an assistant I used to have once, who, when she was very very young, she came to me and she said, I don't do this thing. I didn't get a degree in order to do these things. And later in life we went on and we were doing our own business. We were started off as young entrepreneurs, and we had to do that same thing. But we're doing it for ourselves this time. And when we did it, I stopped her and I said to her, do you remember 5 years ago when you pulled an attitude, you copped an attitude and decided, I'm not doing this because I'm bigger than this. Look at
Mm.
us now. This is the thing that's going to pay our salary. It's the same thing. We've taken
Mhm.
off our shoes, we've gotten up on the ladder, and we've fixed that balloon thing. That same balloon thing that you say you didn't do a degree to blow up balloons, right? So here you go. It's a lesson,
Yes.
right? That thing is going to become important, and you have to remember the milestones to either remind yourself or remind someone, or to help someone to learn a lesson, in the same time that you might be learning it too.
All right. Thank you so much, Deborah. And so you have alluded to it somewhat already, but I want you to answer directly now. And this is for you, Carrie. Why are lessons important? And why is it important to learn them early?
Really great question. Lessons are important because if we don't stop to take assessment, then what can we run the risk of living a life that we can't even identify with? And years pass, and then you reach a point where you finally look back and you can't really account. Have I lived purposefully? Have I attained everything that I could have attained? What meaning, what lessons, what legacy am I going to be able to live? How do I keep accountable? It's like having a job that you never ever assess. It's like being in a job where you never get a performance appraisal. So taking stock of these lessons are like giving yourself a performance appraisal to see what are the areas of development, what are the things that you're doing really well, and sister, go right along, straight, no change, no changing that one. You've got that locked. But in this other area, we still need to work a little bit on that one, yeah, because I see you trying, and I recognize that you have a far way to go, and we recognize that you're trying. So be gentle still. So it's not necessarily hating yourself or hating who you are, where you are, because you have not attained something. It's giving yourself a really, really loving, introspective look, because even the Bible says that God chastens those who He loves. And there's a lot of discipline and self-discipline that's to be applied to a life well lived. But if we're not taking assessment, then how do we? Even when we teach our kids, we have to show them the lesson. You can't just beat a pick-me, punish a pick-me, and they have no idea why it is that they're being punished or why it is that you've taken this away. What you really need to communicate more than even the punishment is what the infraction was, what the redress is, and what could have been an alternative behavior that could have mitigated all of this. So therefore they can learn from that.
And for the second part, for the second part of that, I don't think there's any early or late for a lesson. It's never too late for a shower of rain. It's never too late for a lesson. You're gonna keep having them all the way through to the. On your dying bed, you're going to think to yourself, "Oh, I should have." Or I could have, and if I had learned so and so. It's never going to stop, and it shouldn't ever stop. If you ever stop learning lessons, then you may as well not be around. Because that means that there is no more growth for you. And I hope throughout your entire life, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, that you're always growing. So there must always be a lesson in that process of living. And a process of self-evaluation. Now, that self-evaluation thing is hard, especially when you're going hard, and that's a part of what my lesson has been, and we'll talk about that a little later, I suppose.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies. You really have been sharing some wonderful nuggets this evening. Remember to share with us the lessons you learned in 2022 that will make your 2023 better. We're looking forward to your stories. WhatsApp, text, and voice notes can be sent to us no longer than 30 seconds to 997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Watch us and comment live on Love 101 Facebook and YouTube, or call the studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328 to participate. And I'm sure Carrie Heron and Dr. Deborah Hickling Gordon would be happy to respond to any of the queries that you may have. So please give us a call or send a voice note or a WhatsApp message. And just so you know, the numbers for the FLM head office is in Kingston, that is 876 or 876-926-8101. Don't go anywhere because right now it's time for words of encouragement from Pastor Clover.
You know, for many years, even though I needed to get to work for 7 a.m., and this was about a 20 minutes run from home, yet I would get up every morning at 4 a.m. so that I could spend time with Jesus. Now, during COVID lockdown, it just seemed like I couldn't find it in me to do that anymore. But 2022 taught me that if my dream isn't worth 30 minutes of my time, then maybe I was not ready to increase my productivity. I realized that successful people get up early. They practice what Terry Seville called mind over mattress. 2022 has taught me that I must be intentional about my morning routine if I am going to be an expert at what God has called me to share. I also learned to make vision boards work for me. Somebody says, you will never leave where you are until you know where you'd rather be. When you're surrounded by ongoing negative messages, like life will never get any better for you, your vision board will serve as a visual reminder of where you are headed. It will keep you focused when you're tempted to give up. Now, it's not that the board itself will cause my dreams to magically appear. It's what the realization and clarity of your dreams do for you that makes it work. Proverbs 29 verse 18 says, where there's no vision, the people perish.
It's it's now 6:02 p.m. That's our time signal. It's now 6:02 p.m. Welcome back, everyone. We have been looking at the topic lessons learned from 2022. And so we want you to share with us the lessons that you have learned. You can send those messages to our WhatsApp. And of course, you can also send the voice notes to us. We're looking forward to hearing from you. All right. So we're going to invite, of course, to hear from our speakers. And those are, of course, we have with us Dr. Deborah Hicklin Gordon. And of course, we also have Carrie Heron. And they've really just been pouring out in us right throughout this session. And we can't have enough of them. Ladies, we want to hear from you once more. And this time, we want you to share some of the lessons that you learned from 2022 and how learning those lessons improved you and your family, or how it is that it improved you and yours. But before you go into that, let me just share another lesson that I learned in 2022. And of course, it's one of those lessons that, you know, you kind of knew already because I did, but you really had to remind yourself and remind yourself. And that is to train my mind to think positively. Train my mind to think positively. Because, of course, as a man thinketh, so is he. And so that, of course, was quite important for me. Let's go to the ladies now to hear from them the lessons they learned in 2022, and of course, how learning those lessons improved them, and of course, also worked out for the persons in their immediate environment. Who would like to take that one?
Go Carrie, go Carrie.
So I mean, in it, one of the things that I learned, and it's a carryover because I've been assessing. I think I've been assessing every year end for quite some time. And that's how I also create new goals for a year, not resolutions necessarily, but goals for the year. Um, One of the things I looked at was that I needed to, one of the things that you need to look at in terms of lessons is being able to ascertain the areas of development and go about getting the resources needed in order to accomplish, in order to get those things, in order to develop in those areas as quickly as possible. And so, in personally for me, in my business, it was the area of sales. I'm a creative, born, bred, fed. That me through and through. We are from the media arts, and we are highly creative individuals. But then there's business and there's sales, and I'm okay with one-on-one sales. Quite good with sales, working in with people because I'm good with people generally. But working online and now scaling my business meant that I had to learn a different approach to sales, which didn't feel as if I was violating myself. And it was a very bumpy, bumpy road, but it was worthwhile having. And because I that was my main aim in my business for 2022, and I stuck to it. It was messy in many situations. People got mad at me in my learning process. It wasn't necessarily sweet and good going all the time, but I knew that what I was learning was beneficial and the process was important. And at the end of the day, I really got to see a huge difference in my business because I put systems in place. So where I was getting bookings from one place, I started getting bookings in 3 different places. So I increased bookings by 400%
Lux, I need to
because I
talk to
put
you.
systems in place. Yeah. And I'm getting bookings while I'm sleeping from different people, different countries. And so the automation process was not easy. And how do I have automated systems while still remaining true and authentic? I don't want to be a used car salesman at any point in any day. And it's not always easy, but it was worthwhile. And I'm only scratched the surface. I'm nowhere near where I need to be, but I'm so much further than I was a year ago because I applied those.
All right. Thank you so much, Carrie. Go right ahead, Deborah.
You know, my lesson wasn't as kind of practical as Carrie's. Mine was a little bit more existential, and I think, but it was a big thing for me because I have to tell you the backstory first. I've always been a person who goes and 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 goes right to the very end. Don't stop to look around 20-hour days, sorting things out on the go, this country, that country, this activity, that activity, project to project to project. And I've never taken a moment to like kind of live strategically. It was always the next thing that came, and you take it, you run with it, you go with it, you sort it through, you solve the problem, you move on, you have you have a downtime, you have a sad time, all the things, but you aren't thinking about how they all fit together.
Mm.
And then my father died in 2020, and I don't know what happened to me. I just stopped. Every system, every sinew stopped in my body. And and even the things that I wanted to do, I couldn't do because I stopped thinking. My brain stopped working. My will stopped working. My energy, I had none. And then COVID was happening at the same time. So it was like very good for me because I literally didn't have to go anywhere or see anyone. But it was, looking back, it was one of the most, I don't know, I can't describe it. But then I got help. And in getting help for so that was lesson number 1. Get help. Reach out and get help. I have a very supportive partner, and he was there for me in ways that, if he wasn't there, I don't know what I would do. But you also have to get the kind of help who can, in a structured way, move you out of that situation that you are in. Get help. That's the first thing. And then in getting help, You learn your triggers. Learn your triggers. Learn the things that are impacting you and have affected you for the 50 years that came before that you didn't even think about, right?
Mm.
And then for me, the most profound and amazing thing was my ability to say no. Because remember, I wasn't saying no all along. I was just running from thing to thing to thing. I never even thought to say no. It wasn't an
Mm-hmm.
issue about you just do the next thing that comes and you have a great time doing it. One job, next job, move to this, move to that. And then I recognized it was important to say no. And it wasn't no just to activity. It was no to toxicity. No, I'm not taking that from you. And I don't have to shout at you. And I don't have to get angry with you. And even if I am steaming on the inside, I can take myself away. It doesn't have to be anything to do with you. I can determine that I'm not doing that project. I can determine that I'm not getting involved with that person. I can determine that I am not going to that place. And for me, that was the most remarkable thing that happened because no led to yes. No meant that I had decided. I wasn't just kind of flitting around from place to place. No meant that I had decided that I wasn't doing that. And the thing that I wanted to do, even if I didn't know that I wanted to do it, it came into my space because I had made space for it. I had made space for yes. And so my lesson for 2022 that I have a choice. I can make a choice based on my philosophy, my ideology, where I want my economy to go, how I plan my entire life, and how I operationalize my life. And I created a model out of that I now use for everything that I do. I can absolutely say no, and no leads to yes. That was my lesson. So it's kind of airy-fairy and up in the air. And I want to learn sales. But but that was my lesson for 2022.
All right. Thank you so much,
Wonderful.
Deborah. Thank you. Powerful there. I recognize that when we learn the lessons, I find that or it improves even the very environment that we operate in. So if it's our home space, for example, and we would have learned a particular lesson, then it improves the relationships that we
Mm-hmm,
have at home.
mm-hmm,
It's similar. I think also in the professional space that when we learn these lessons, certainly they um, how we view ourselves and how persons view us and how we relate to each other, I find that there is vast improvement. And even in church,
I just want to jump in here because it's a funny thing though.
mm-hmm.
In saying no, there were people who had never seen that side of Deborah,
Ah,
right?
mm-hmm.
And were accustomed to taking advantage or
Yes.
accustomed to a pliable, she's not going to push back or she's not going to say anything about it. So it isn't as easy as it sounds because people then get angry with you and upset with you
Yes,
because then
but
you are
that's
not,
all right.
yeah, you're not being the person that you thought that they thought you should be.
Yes,
To suit them, to suit
yes,
their yes. Your
yes,
no doesn't suit their yes.
yes.
Yeah,
But your
so
no is important to protect you. Yes,
absolutely,
yes.
absolutely,
Boundaries.
Boundaries,
Boundaries.
yes,
And
absolutely.
when you start to exercise boundaries, it is extremely messy
yes,
because you don't necessarily, especially when it's new. I found out I didn't have the right lingo, the right language to necessarily articulate it in a way that's quite lovely. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it sometimes comes across a little bit rough too.
Hmm.
But
mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm.
don't
and
have any filters, so it's
yeah,
difficult.
so and people take offense to it. but it's an important part, especially when you reassess and realize, okay, what part am I playing in this process that I'm seeing? Yes, life has happened to me. Yes, circumstances have happened to me. How can I make adjustments in order to navigate a different trajectory from
Mm-hmm.
the right here so when me experience when not now move. So
Mm-hmm.
this now gonna go on no more, and insanity is to continue to do the same thing and expecting something different. So something have to change.
Mm-hmm.
And since I can't change the circumstances,
Yes.
since I can't change the things that have happened to me, I have to change how I am perceiving and managing that and dealing with external resources as a
All
result.
right.
So,
Thank you
yeah.
so much. So we're on to a break, and we just want to remind you that you're tuning in to Family Time live on Love 101. Of course, also on YouTube and FB. It's produced by Family Life Ministries. For our social media interaction, feel free to contact us. And of course, we are looking forward to hearing from you. We're also on FB and YouTube Live. We want to hear from you. Don't go away. This evening, we're sharing lessons from 2022. And we have with us Kari Heron and Dr. Deborah Hickling Gordon. So stick around, there's more.
Mormac Auto Parts for all your Honda Ridgeline parts in Kingston. You may contact us at 876-821-5232 or 876-326-7371 or email us at mormacautoparts@gmail.com. Remember, we are your Honda Ridgeline parts dealer located in Kingston. Contact us now for more details at 876-821-5232 or 876-326-7371.
How have your days been? Your months? The past few years? Has it been a struggle? Filled with stress, disappointment, and even depression? Times where you're only hanging on by a thread? It's a special morning on The Rock this week where we listen to you and share our own struggles. Just so you know, you're not alone. It's a morning where we want you to call, talk, and write to us and let us help you through your rough patches. Come, talk about it. We'll listen. Tuesday, January 31 on The Rock. Join host Bishop Harold Steve Blair and guests Dr. Margaret Barnett, Errol Bean, and Pastor Luke Smith as they discuss the topic Struggles, Depression, and God, the Counseling Edition. That's The Rock, Tuesday, January 31 at 10 a.m. here on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back. It is now 6:18 p.m. You're tuned in to Love 101. This is Family Time, brought to you by the Family Life Ministries. FLM provides counseling for people with all kinds of challenges from all walks of life. Listen out for our numbers in Kingston and Portmore at the end of this program. Remember, we're on FB and YouTube Live. So tune in to the program via Love 101 Facebook page and YouTube channel. The topic today is Lessons from 2022 with special guests Carrie Heron and Dr. Deborah Hicklin Gordon. So, welcome back, ladies, and it has just been a joy to have both of you this evening. As we are in the final segment, I want to find out from both of you what are some things, some lessons that you believe that as a nation we really should have learned from 2022 going into 2023? So, what should we be doing, right, in 2023? Looking back at 2022, all that occurred, what lessons should we learn going into 2023? And go right ahead, Deborah, go right ahead. You're muted.
puppies again. Lessons for the nation. Well, I don't think you can look at 2022 without looking back from 2019, 2020, because it's really been one long period.
The
Yeah,
pandemic.
that pandemic period, and now we're kind of evolving through it. So I suppose that lesson has been anything can happen. That there's that there tomorrow is not promised in the same sort of way that we. I mean, there was one day we were all fine, and the next day we were locked down for 2 years,
Tell
right?
me about it.
Yeah. So you, life happens,
Mm-hmm.
so be ready for I guess one of the lessons would be preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Prepare for anything, because we don't know what that anything could be. The pandemic could reemerge, there could be a whole new other thing. So and I guess the second thing for me would be, each of us has a choice, and the choice that we each make, there's a there's a concept that my father taught me, which is a concept of the Gestalt, which is really the whole is as good as the sum of its parts. So
Mm-hmm.
each one of us, the choices that each one of us makes, comes together in this whole energy. And so we really have to be careful about the choice that I make, because it's going to affect you. If I speak too long, then it's going to put you in trouble, because you'll have a problem with the thing, and then Carrie won't get to say what she wants to say. So I can make a choice right now to stop, and that's my choice, recognizing that it impacts the entire dynamic. And if we stop thinking about ourselves just as individuals,
Mm-hmm.
who has to make a choice for ourselves, but really about this, go back to thinking about the notions of the collective, then I think, things will start to change, and we'll start to kind of move into, not return to, but move into a new space, a positive new space. If I choose to take a deep breath instead of drawing the last, if I choose to just kind of touch the brakes a little instead of pushing down the gas,
Yeah.
if everything that I do, it's a choice,
Yes.
and and we have to make them. Each of us has to make them in order to ensure that the Gestalt works, the whole works.
All right. Thank you so much, Deborah. How about you, Carrie?
The first thing is, I hope that we look back on the mental, psychological, spiritual strain that the pandemic amplified. Amplified,
Mm-hmm.
because it made things worse than they were. But there are lots of things that were not great to begin with, and it only made it worse. So if I wish that, I really would pray that one of the lessons that we learned in 2022 as a nation is that it is okay to recognize that we need help, as Debbie had pointed out earlier. And not only that we need help, but to seek help. There's so much happening. People are struggling in many ways. And a lot of the ways that we seem to go about finding restitution for our problems are actually more harmful than they are helpful long term. So it causes more damage, really, than just actually going about finding the help to fix it. So there's a shadow moving behind me in the background. And so the need for help is important. I hope and pray that our men also would seek help, that the whole idea of going for counseling isn't seen as the space for only mad people and
Ah.
Bellevue people.
Mm-hmm.
And and for even for the workplaces, I wish that insurance companies will start covering therapy, covering counseling, making it easy. And if people had access to resources that would help them to you take out that tap off of that pressure cooker, that pressure cooker eventually have to release the steam.
Mm-hmm.
Then it wouldn't blow as much. And then a lot of the things that we experience in domestic violence situations, a lot of the things, struggles in relationships, those things that happen in the home happen in the society. People feeling like they have no way out, so they have to resort to crime. If we had other resources that were there, then I think we'll be better off our nation. So I hope that we learned that it's okay to seek help, and it's also okay to invest in help for people. It's a good thing to do that because we're making everybody better.
There's nobility in vulnerability.
It
There
is.
is, yeah.
That's a space for God to move.
Yes.
God can't move where there's pride, where I
Mm.
feel more puffed up and feel like, oh no, you see me, it's a bad girl. No. Everything praise and everything can settle. No, I need help. I'm struggling. It's hard. And it's when we say, happen, okay, white flag, white flag, white flag, white flag. And it's not surrender. It's surrender when you are surrendering to an enemy. But when you are giving to whom, the one who really loves you, it's yielding. And yielding to that space is a good thing. Finding people like Family Life Ministries that are, you guys have been around for ages, but not enough people are utilizing the resources because there's still a stigma against Black people going to get therapy, and it needs to stop.
Yes.
It's going to help us heal. It's going to help us find better resources. We're not going to go out and have to drink all night and spend the money just as soon as we get it, just because we have to try to blow off some steam, which also has a different repercussion for the child who can't go to school and rent that can't pay. And then you have to go out and rob somebody because that gap is there. And then you lose a job because you were drinking and you drink. It's a thing that keeps on blowing up. So I just really hope that we really take on the need to heal. And when we heal, then we can build. And in fact, we need to heal and build at the same time. David talks about preparation. Preparation is also necessary. We have to be able to put resources aside for a rainy day. We can't. There is no safety net in Jamaica. There is no.
There isn't.
None at all.
Handout where?
And we have to learn to talk to each other. We really need to learn to converse and communicate in ways that allow us to understand each other. It's really all about having a discussion, and maybe we need to repackage this thing about therapy or counseling as having a discussion, having a series of structured discussions, and kind of make them more a part of our day-to-day lives. Those anybody who has kind of studied counseling knows that there are ways you can transpose those techniques.
Ladies,
into
I
everyday life.
enjoyed the discussion to the max. Can you believe we're out of time already?
Oh,
no. Thanks for being with us. If you have questions of a personal nature or are concerned about a friend or family member, call us at Family Life Ministries. For our center in Portmore, call 876-939-7917 for more information on services, or for our counselors in Kingston and other parts of the island, you can contact our head office at 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. Note that appointments can only be made by calling the offices. Otherwise, to keep up to date with what's happening with FLM and other programs, find us on FB at Family Life Ministries and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries FLMJA. Before you leave, here is this evening's Bible verse. 2 Timothy 3, verse 16 and 17. All scripture is God breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. Join us again next week at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101 FM, FB and YouTube Live via Love 101 Facebook page and Love 101 YouTube channel for another informative program. Thanks again to our special guests, Carrie Heron and Dr. Deborah Hickling Gordon. Thanks also to our show producer, Kathy Gale, Open Door Communications, studio facilitator, Timoy Butler, and of course, you. As usual, stay well, stay safe, stay blessed. I'm Marsha.